There we go. I hope those kids learned something in the kitchen today. But it's time for your sports right now. And I'm chilling with my man here, Mr. David Brook, all the way from Sports 24. Welcome, sir. Very good to have you. Green looks awesome on you.
This is for my man, Charl Schwartzel. Fantastic victory. You know, we wore green for the Proteas. They didn't do us really too proud.
Yeah.
Charl Schwartzel did one for us, and there's going to be a lot of tired people at work this morning. Up until 1 this morning watching the golf. Absolutely fantastic to see Charl win it.
And just like David said, if you're not sure what's going on in this morning, there might be a lot of tired South Africans this morning because people slept all the way, didn't sleep, they actually watched the golf all the way through this morning when Charl Schwartzel won the Masters in Augusta. Congratulations, doing South Africa very, very proud over there. We will talk about that a bit later. But let's start off with what you have for us in the sports.
Yeah, well, in Super Rugby action this weekend, the Stormers finally lost. It had to happen.
You were waiting for it.
It had to happen, you know, the bubble had to burst, but I don't think it's a bad thing. Yeah. You know, the Reds are a decent side, and they did extremely well in Cape Town. A lot of disappointed fans in Cape Town. Apparently there was about 40,000 people there, and people were leaving early, which is not great for Cape Town. But apparently the Cape Town fans were booing a bit, which is not great to see in rugby, but you know what?
It's one of those things where if your team loses, you know, you kind of just hit hard, and booing just seems to be the kind of...
I think if there were a couple of Bulls fans up in Christchurch, they'd be very upset because their team did not score a single point, unfortunately, against the Crusaders. Crusaders have looked absolutely brilliant throughout this entire season, and they just pummeled the defending champions. These guys are the defending champions, the Bulls. So there's a lot of questions to be asked there.
Would this go down in history as the first time the Blue Bulls have ever been beaten without scoring a single point?
I think it will. I think it will.
Even in the time
I stand to be corrected, but yeah, even in the time of last Bertha. But yeah, there's always a penalty or something. There's always a fly-off for the Bulls,
you know,
kicking some penalty, but not even 1 point. You know, that's testament to a strong Crusader side. They are looking extremely good at the moment. The Sharks bounced back from 3 consecutive defeats to beat the Lions. So they're back on track now. The Bulls and the Stormers did them a huge favour by losing, because now all of a sudden the Sharks are up there in the South African region. Yeah. So they're looking all right.
The Cheetahs?
Cheetahs, unfortunately, they fought well. They were down a lot to the Highlanders, but unfortunately, they fell short again, and they're looking like bottom of the loggers this season again.
Sorry, Freestad.
Yeah.
I've got to ask you this, though, but what does this say to you about the coming World Cup?
Well, you know, it's difficult to tell right now because we've still got a few months ahead. But, you know, Peter de Villiers is looking at these sides, and especially the Bulls. You know, the Bulls make up a lot of the Springbok sides. So he's got to ask some serious questions, whether these guys are still up for it. You know, guys like Bakkies Botha and Victor Matfield have not exactly done themselves a world of good in the Super Rugby season yet. So, you know, whether they need to be rested or whether they're playing too much rugby, these questions need to be asked, and they need to be asked fast because, you know, they've got to pick a squad soon.
Okay, 10 times. Let's move on.
Let's talk about good stuff then. You know, the golf was absolutely fantastic. I was up this morning. I've had 3 hours of sleep.
I tried to watch it.
There's going to be a lot of coffee this morning. Yeah. Coffee shops are going to do extremely well. Yeah. Charl Schwartzel, he was there and thereabout the whole tournament. Rory McIlroy from Ireland. He was way ahead, you know, going into the final round, and he absolutely tanked it. Yeah. You know, he absolutely just went off the boil, and the guys just came up. You know, Tiger was roaring for a while.
Exactly, because at some point I was watching it, and it looked like Tiger would have taken it after Scott messed up that one shot.
Exactly.
And but you know, Schwartzel wasn't really looking like he was in the game.
Yeah, exactly. You know, he was there in the shot. Schwartzel, the networks weren't actually covering him too much. And, you know, you're looking at the leaderboard, and Schwartzel was there, and you know, Adam Scott and Jason Day, 2 Australian players, and then all of a sudden, Charl Schwartzel, 16, he makes a massive birdie. Wow. He goes into the lead. 17, he makes another birdie. And at the 18th, he clinched it with another birdie.
Unbelievable.
So all of a sudden, he won by 2 strokes, but over 2 Australians, which was just fantastic. You know, it couldn't get much better than that.
Let's talk about our soccer fans, Premier League.
Yeah, the English Premier League, Man United, they're looking very dangerous. They're looking like it's theirs to lose, basically. Yeah. Arsenal won yesterday, and Chelsea won over the weekend as well. But Man United again won 2-0 against Fulham.
7 points
so
ahead,
they're 7 points ahead now, and it's really theirs to lose. You know, I can't see Sir Alex Ferguson. There'd be a lot of hair dryer treatment in the change room if they did lose it.
Indeed. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. As I said, green looks wonderful on you. We'll talk a bit some other time about the Varsity Cup.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much for that. So remember to tune in at 6 o'clock when we have your news, headlines, your traffic and the weather. 6:15, we have exercises. Still lots more to come on Expresso this morning.